free on that asphalt lane. 4 wide at town a day, they ain't holding no chain.
Gordon drops back Cuthbert, and we get Peggy. Bars and America songbox, paper is 19.
4 cars side by side in a wild friend ride, with the roar of the engines leaving all doubts behind. As the wheels spin on, chasing dreams we can't hide. NASCAR life where legends never die.
Welcome back, everybody, to the 4 Wide podcast. I don't even know what we call ourselves 4 Wide anymore, to be honest with you. I mean, there's only 2 people, so there's only 2 perspectives. We don't have that 4 wide spectrum anymore. But, Blake, if you can choose one alter ego and I can choose another alter ego, I think we can get away with it. But that's the only way that we can get away with it right now.
We could, we could consider it any of our listeners listening in. That could be the 3rd wide, at least a 3 wide perspective.
That's true. That's true.
So there's a little bit of room to meet in the middle, a little optimism.
I'm all about optimism over here, 100%.
Yeah.
Especially when my driver's like 38th in points, but we won't get talking about that till a little bit later.
You can only go up from here.
That's right. That's a fact.
That's right.
We're like Cole Custard last year. You can only go up from here. But we had a fantastic week of racing at COTA and St. Petersburg. And we'll obviously start with the truck race when we get to discuss that. I know Blake's seeming ready to speak about how the truck race went. But first of all, before we even get to anything, just want to shout out our main sponsor here in partnership, Wilkerson's Catering. I seen that, man, he is still booked up to the neck every single month, and he's still putting out some amazing looking dishes. Whatever he posted on Facebook last looked superb.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you're looking like Bobby Flay, Gordon Ramsay looking stuff, man. So it's on up there for sure.
Are you going to have, like, when your baby's coming, are you going to have him cater in the waiting room for everybody, or you just...
I might, just because he's so busy, we might have to do the 1-year birthday, but I think first birthday might be the way to go.
I got you. The waiting room is kind of last minute at night,
Yeah, no doubt.
How nervous are you right now on a scale of 1 to 10,000?
Probably about 1 million, but I'm also excited.
Yeah.
On a 1 to 10, about 1 million. So it's a mesh. It's kind of like having the ability to speak 2 different languages at any time. You can do one. I can be nervous in one sense, and then I can be super excited the next minute, and it just kind of juggles. And it really depends on which minute you ask me.
That's right. Well, hopefully for the next hour and so minutes that you can just view on the optimistic side and you don't have to worry too much. I'll tell you, one person that you were probably worrying about till the end of that truck race was Lane Riggs, because it looked like he was going to have another one of those days. And then he shows up towards the end of the race, and what do you know?
Yeah.
Ends up crossing the start-finish line in first place, even swerving that truck just a little bit because it might have been a little low on gas, maybe.
Yeah. No doubt, man. I tell you, that front row team has some grit and tenacity, no doubt. And so, yeah, I mean, way to never give up, way to never quit, and cross the finish line first. Being at a first-time place like St. Petersburg, I feel like it can offer some more grace than what a typical weekend would, because everybody's on an even playing field, unless like a Colin Braun or a James Hinchcliffe, Dario Franchitti, who have been there before, right? But for the most part, everybody's on a pretty even playing field. So it kind of, I don't know, I feel like it equalized this weekend a little bit on some of the mishaps. Pretty stoked when we saw that the 34 truck was in victory lane. So good weekend.
Yeah, most definitely. I'll tell you one thing that really last few weeks I've been excited to see is that 88 machine running up front almost every single week. Ty Majeski looked like he had a shot to challenge Lane Riggs towards the end, but I think it was just getting too late into that cycle, and tires are just, there wasn't no grip, so he's trying to make moves that just were not possible with what they had left. Him and Ben Rhodes both, I mean, they've been stellar to start off the year. I don't know what Thor Sports done to just, come in this year with like a hammer just wailing away, but they've been shooting for the limit, man. So it's great to see. Ben Rhodes, I feel like he's one guy that really does need to have a good year. But on the other end of the spectrum, you think the 88 team really needs a good year because just how the last few years for them have been, it's just been horrific to watch. Someone that multi-time champion in the truck series obviously was just, got up to the point where he didn't love racing anymore. And he j- I wouldn't say he didn't have the ability because he obviously there was glimpses where we thought Matt Crafton was going to sneak in and win over the last few years, but just never got around to it. It's good to see a Thor sport being competitive, especially where last year, I mean, you had Ty Majeski at the end of the year trying to give him the championship try, but I mean, no one was going to wrestle away from Corey Heim taking up 7 wide at the end of the race. So,
Look at a guy like James Hinchcliffe, right? I thought he had a pretty respectable day for never driving a truck before. I believe that's accurate. And then I'll echo what you said with Majeski. Looked like that going into that last corner there, that lane wasn't necessarily definitely a good shout out to Thor Sport. Rhodes had a good run there for a little bit, like you were talking about. So Chandler Smith still looking strong in a lot of areas. And so I think the front row boys are going to be a huge contender. Another guy that I'm looking at who's been fairly consistent is Justin Haley, my championship pick for our Pick'em series in the trucks. I think he's got the consistency to make it happen. And overall, it looked like a pretty doggone good race. And I think from my perspective personally, like I thought the crowd looked pretty good for the truck race. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not an avid IndyCar fan. I like it. I watch it here and there, but it looked like there was a pretty good crowd for the truck race for it to be a first time street course, right? And so I thought that was good. And who knows, man? I think NASCAR's doing a lot of experimenting and seeing what some of these crossover weekends look like. And I'm not against it, especially from a fan perspective. If you can go and there's more racing, the better. So, like for NASCAR fans, it's good to get exposure to IndyCar, but also you might have some IndyCar fans who's going to have a first time exposure to NASCAR, and that definitely helps sport we all know and love, right? So I think it's a really good idea to do it with the trucks and O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, like you're going to see this weekend, and I like it. I think with motorsports, what you've kind of seen is rising tides are going to lift all boats. When motorsports in general are doing well, everything does well. But when a lot of them are in the slump, it kind of all kind of goes together, right? So I'm all for it.
Colin Braun, obviously, he was the highest finishing Ram truck driver. Doesn't surprise anybody, but throughout the race, he didn't have necessarily an easy path throughout the day. Probably one guy that I really was watching was Landon Lewis in that 45 truck. He finished just outside the top 5. I think he finished 6. And what I really like about the 45 this year is they've kind of followed a similar path, kind of like how Spire has for the most part. Is they're putting all these different people in this truck. I mean, they had what was it, Ricky Stenhouse in the
Yeah,
truck. I mean,
first two, right?
they're really seeing where their program is by plugging in these drivers that are, higher level compared to someone that could probably bring year's worth of funding rather than just plugging in people for like a race, kind of like how Junior's done with Chastain and SVG in the past, and kind of how they're doing Quapple and Zilich this year. That was fun to watch him go out through the week and almost get a top 5 in the 45 truck, which I mean that's big in itself.
Yeah.
Chris Perez de Lara in the 44, he finished in the top 10 as well. Of course, you mentioned Hinchcliffe. His day was crazy because he got in some earlier contact with Dario and messed up his truck pretty decent. They fixed it and he was able to grind out a top 10 finish, spun out once, I believe. And I mean, just a crazy day for him. Also, one name that comes to mind is one that Kent mentioned, And one of his spicy takes is he said that Mini Tyrell, there's a reason why Mini Tyrell didn't have a ride to come into this year. And he finished 28th. So that's 3 races that are been pretty tough on him. Now, you expect once they get to the short tracks, that's probably where he's going to excel. But we also said that about, Butterbean. Obviously, Butterbean's not a road course guy. I believe he may have won a road course during the ARCA series last year, but that's probably just because the equipment. There's just so much more on the upper level. But yeah, it was tough to watch Tyrell suffer throughout the week, and I believe he did spin out towards the end of the race, so that did hurt his finishing position as well. So the Ram truck seems to be there's a lot coming good with it, but there's a lot of bad that's being sprinkled in here and there. So it's been a good storyline to keep up with throughout the weeks. But other than that, man, it's an interesting truck race. I think the environment of St. Petersburg, just the aesthetic, it kind of reminds me of Portland. Obviously, different vibes, but Portland's
Yeah.
got that big lake in the middle and it's very foresty around it, where this is right on like the beach. I mean, you see the ocean, water, and everything, and they're going around. It's just a beautiful aesthetic. I know that we mentioned the broadcast, how much we've been liking it. I will say this broadcast, I feel like suffered a little bit, and I don't think it's anything that Fox necessarily did. It's just, I think when you bring someone in that has a great grasp on, the street course or the area, like they brought in with the announcer this week, you would want him to speak more, but Jamie Little talked over him a lot throughout the broadcast. And that took a lot away from it for me, because I want to hear the insight from the guy that knows this track, who they've been running this track multiple times. Of course, yes, he's not familiar with NASCAR, you know, A to Z here, but I want to hear their perspective on it more, where you had Jamie talking over him a lot. And it seemed like he was the type of person that doesn't want to talk over somebody else. So he would just completely stop what he was saying.
I know he usually does a pretty good job for IndyCar whenever I've watched it. And yeah, I thought it was a great move by Fox to bring him into the booth. Yeah, especially when they've never raced there before and having that kind of expert knowledge coming in. I would um love to hear a lot of insight on that. And so I could definitely see where and be towards what you're saying there. He does some IMSA announcing. Man, he did a great job with the Rolex 24 when he had some of his stints. Man, like they did a pretty good job with that coverage. And when I heard him, I'm like, okay, this is going to be legit coming from him, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, just with that Rolex this year, there was a whole bunch of that fog and stuff. So there was a lot of downtime in regards to the racing itself. So having a voice like that keeps you interested and invested in the race is important. So I don't know if it just feels like a different role for him, because he's usually the guy that's talking a lot, right? A lot of insight, a lot of explanation. Where James Hinchcliffe is probably like your commentator that's been on the racetrack, talks about how it is, kind of like how Michael Waltrip was. So it's like having two people trying to talk about the racetrack, where one is really knowledgeable about it and one's coming in not knowing a ton about the track, right? So I don't know. That's the one takeaway that I have from the truck race. If there was one bad thing, 'cause bad in quotation marks, it's just something that they can improve on. I do wish they did do the radio broadcast for all of these road course races. St. Petersburg you can get away with, kind of, because there's really not a way to set too many towers up. But we're talking about COTA, man. It's just when we get the broadcasting itself wasn't terrible by any means, but the insight that you get with a radio style broadcast on these road courses is second to none. So I don't know why they shoot themselves in the foot by not doing them, personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think NBC introduced that really well about 10 years ago, right? And it seems like for the most part that always stayed an NBC thing, right? And which was super unfortunate, because you would think that some other networks would do it. But I also get with NBC Sports, you got a whole lot of depth, right, to where you can do something like that. But yeah, maybe they'll bring it back with Prime or TNT or I mean NBC USA, whichever one, right? It would be really good to see that.
I would imagine that CW probably has a lot of that depth that they could do too, though, especially with as much money as they pour into, advertisement for CW. Because, I mean, you see all kinds of advertisements for the O'Reilly Series races now. Xfinity last year, you didn't see a lot before CW came along. They've really been pushing it. So, which, I mean, that kind of transitions ourselves to the race at COTA for the O'Reilly Series. I'll go ahead and mention this is the broadcast. Total opposite. It's always stellar, and the narrative and the excitement that they bring to a race where majority of your NASCAR audience is not road course fans. I would feel like you probably gotta, especially if you factor in people that watch NASCAR but actually don't watch NASCAR. They say they don't watch NASCAR, but they actually do. I would say probably 70% probably don't like road courses or neutral about road courses, and 30% decently enjoy them or like them. I think that's a good split. And I think when you look at the Jeff Gluck poll for this week, when we talk about COTA, you probably can see that being pretty much similar. But before we even get to that, obviously we know who won the race. I mean, not a shocker for us that have been watching NASCAR for the last year. We knew that it was pretty much going to be the SVG versus Connor Zillett show, but then it turned out not to be that way at all. I mean, do we even go into it? Just first thing we
First
talk.
thing,
First thing you want to take this away? You want to talk about the prodigal son?
you talking about Corey Day?
Yeah. You want to talk about him?
Yeah, it's. I gotta imagine that's got to be a little awkward with the Junior Motorsports and Hendrick Motorsports relationship, right? Because Corey Day looks like that he's going to be this next up and coming star per Jeff Gordon, Kyle Larson. They say that he's got that kind of potential from them, right? So I'm just saying from their perspective. From the fans, it's like, I don't know, haven't seen tons to point towards that yet. Right. I'm not saying it ain't there, but it's taken a lot longer than what I think they hyped it up for, right? And so you got that, and then obviously the true next phenom, Connor Zillich, who just got done winning like 10 races with Junior Motorsports, and they come together, and he's calling. I saw a post this week where Connor Zillich was super stoked about when Corey Day got a ride a year or so ago, and this week he's calling him a hack. I'm like, this is what we love to see. Well done, gentlemen. Right? So, yeah, I mean, I could totally see where Zillich is livid because it wasn't necessary, and he had a very, from what it looked like, correct me if I'm wrong, right? Pretty winnable race car, had the potential to go battle SVG, pretty much got robbed of that. And so I I guess I could see like where the philosophy from Corey Day comes from, because you do have these dirt races that are all out 40, 50 laps. Cole, you grew up going to the dirt track with your uncle, right? You know how it is. You don't have time to just be methodical and move your way up through the field. You got to go, right? And I think that's where it might work for him in the dirt world. But in NASCAR world, he's kind of stuck in this in between, right, of wanting to go all out, but starting to try to be methodical. But he's got to find that right marriage between those two concepts. And so I think it'll come to him. He's a super talented dirt racer. You see that there's a lot of dirt racers who have a lot of success, like the guy who's won 3 straight. And so I think it'll come. But yeah, I think on one of these, the fans pretty much win because you got driver super mad at the other. And should be interesting to see whenever they're back in that scenario again, if Zilich will repay Day a favor.
Yeah, man, it's tough. I know that Junior. I seen a clip. I haven't listened, but they said that him and Mr. Hendrick had a little talk with Corey Day about this run in. Yeah, it's one thing to run into random people on the racetrack, but you're running into your quote unquote teammates. We talk about, this Hendrick car, this number 17, right? It's basically another Junior Motorsports fleet car. It's just Hendrick kind of, puts the money together and they get the car prepared. When you're running into pretty much your teammate, quote unquote, like that, it's different if you're like Connor Zilich and SVG last year at Chicago. Like y'all are running into each other, but it's like respectably, running into each other, not trying to,
Yeah.
wreck each other. And even earlier in the race, when SVG and Zilich were going at it early in the race, SVG got past them and then gave him like the little peace sign out the window. And then when Zilich passed to SVG early in the race, he held out on number 1. Then there was an interview where SVG is like, "Yeah, Connor passed me. He told me what place he was by putting his finger out the window or whatever." He's like, "I love it." It's like any other motorsports, you can't do that because they're restricted in regards to that. Now you can't do that during qualifying anymore because that's a big no.
Yeah.
But during the race, in regards to that kind of stuff, it's so cool to see and seeing a teammate rivalry, even at Trackhouse, right? Zilich and SVG and Chastain. I view all 3 of those drivers as exceptional drivers, and I expect a lot of them racing against each other and maybe occasionally for the win. Like, especially we got these road courses coming up throughout the year, like Chicago was, and now it's San Diego. I expect to see Zilich and expect to see SVG at least in the mix racing each other in the top 10. But I feel like one thing that does need to be talked about is obviously we know what happened during the Cup race, and people will be like, "Oh, it's the end of SVG. It's the end of the reign. He's never going to win a road course. They figured it out. They know how to beat him now." Um, insert whatever. You don't see anybody making the moves that SVG did during the Xfinity race and get away with it. You might see some people trying to make the move, but they're taking out everybody when they do it. This man took, what was it, like 4 to 5 wide, past all the cars on the inside, took the lead, and he said, "See you later."
And he really didn't do anything that sophisticated. He just didn't run wide. I mean, the dude doesn't make mistakes on a road course at all.
I think I can count maybe on half of my hand mistakes that he's made. I think probably the biggest mistake he's ever made with racing on a road course is probably him and Chris Buescher at Watkins Glen when he ran that turn too tight and then Buescher got underneath him or whatever. That's the only mistake that really comes to my mind. When it came to the Cup race, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, he just didn't have the car at the end of the day. Like, he couldn't compete with the horsepower. You put SVG in the car that Tyler Reddick had, and he had, ample, like
Gone.
18 seconds, 19 seconds. But for him to even be able to keep close to Tyler Reddick shows how crazy his maneuverability is, which we'll talk about later. I'm not going to get on a tangent in regards to that this early. But it's just to say that it's incredible to watch this man wheel a race car. I mean, it doesn't matter if I'd love to see him in a truck. I'd love to see him at a road course in a truck. If they have like a triple header, he can get in a truck somehow. I would love to see that. I would kill to see that. And I'm sure Spire could probably work something out in regards to that easily, especially how much they're going for the team owners' points. Give the man a try. I would be absolutely amazed at the moves he could probably make in that big, bulky truck. Like, we'd be like, how is he doing this in this giant freaking truck?
Well, and too, that honestly, like, don't get me wrong, you got some good road racers like Lane Riggs, some of these other guys, but, and I'm saying this as a Lane Riggs fan, I don't know that he would come within 5 seconds of SVG, assuming you had a green flag run, right? And it would be like a walk the dog kind of day if SVG was able to go to the truck series. Now, what would be really cool is if you could have a race where you had SVG, Corey Heim, and Brent Cruz and they all have a truck that's in their wheelhouse 100% locked in. Now that I do think would be a good race, but that would be rare to see that. Could be a fun thing if that were to ever happen.
Truck Series, set it up. Let's see it. Let's see
Yeah.
it. San Diego, let's see it. Get it
Yeah.
worked out. But there's a couple other names. Austin Hill, obviously, we see before the SVG came and just absolutely wrecked the world in NASCAR road course racing. We would see Austin Hill pretty much be on top in the Xfinity Series before with these road course races. This is before Connor Zilisch even came.
AJ and all that.
Yep. Austin Hill, Dinger. Austin Hill finished second this race. Sammy Smith finished third. He started off really hot this year. It's good to see that 8 car performing, decent quality runs this early. I know it's, 3 wild card races, but still, at the end of the day, if you can place really good at these wild card races, you set yourself up really well when you're going into these ovals that are a lot shorter distance. Brent Cruz, stellar run in that 19. It's good to see that 19 car running strong, especially where Eric Almirola kind of took a backseat for what it sounds like in regards to it this year. Brent Cruz, a name that most people know, are expecting a lot, finished in the top 6. Sawalich, another name. Like, you got 3 young guns right there. And as much as we've crapped on, we talked about Corey Day earlier in the race, he did finish 5th. Now, did he have to hit a couple of cars to get there? Probably. Everybody's got to learn at a pace. Chastain finished in the top 10. Guess that shouldn't be a shocker. Anytime you bring a cup level quality driver in there, you're expecting high things. Zilisch, obviously, he finished all the laps, but had that damage that really set him back early. Just not a good weekend in general for him in regards to finishing position. But, if you honestly look down the list here, most of these guys are good road course racers. It's like more of the people like Sam Mayer, who finishes out the top 10, finished 14th, right? Phenomenal road course guy. That's when no one picked him last week. I'm like, I can't believe no one didn't pick Sam Mayer. Like, the man is a missile on these road course races. He finished 14th. That's not terrible by any means, but just with the anticipation that we're having for Haas Factory on the road course races. Even Creed, most of the time, is pretty stellar on these road course races for the most part. He just finished outside the top 10. Last thing I'll mention before we move on is, obviously, me and Blake talked about this more personally than anything, but we talked last week a little bit. We're really excited with seeing Resloff, great progression with the first 2 races this year. Obviously, Alfredo's had hit or miss in regards to the races. We said last week, you said, we'll be very interested to see what Viking does, because this was obviously a big hole in their program last year. And indeed, it was once again a big hole for their program going into this race.
Where did Alfredo finish?
He finished 23rd, so outside the top 20. Not terrible, but when you have a guy that's competing on the top level like Resloff finishing 30th and the same car number and everything that he's running second at Atlanta, right? It's not a good look.
Not at all.
So hopefully, man, that they can get that on the right track, because, honestly, the more competition that you see racing is better for the program overall. And we want to see everybody be successful. And Resloff is always, personally, he's always impressed me. I've always liked him. He seemed like a likable guy. So I still don't know about them going to 2 cars rather than just funneling, more resources into 1 car, get that worked out, then going to 2 cars. But at the end of the day, we're not the ones making the decision. They gotta do what they got to make their business model work. From the racing standpoint, I'm sure it's must be tough right now. All right, man, you ready to go to this cup race?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll start with the obvious elephant in the room, right? We've seen the first ever back-to-back starting off the year winner in the Cup Series, Tyler Reddick in the 45 car for 23:11. That's a crazy statistic in itself, because NASCAR's been around for, a little while, just a tiny bit. of a while. It's phenomenal to see Tyler Reddick on this high level, especially outclass someone like SVG in regards to out horsepowering him really on the front stretch and anytime there was a straight, it seemed like he just had enough go rather than, SVG being able to outdo him on the S's to be able to make up for it. It just was too much of a gap there. We witnessed history, and I imagine the people at the end of the day that left COTA, they said, "Hey, this is the first time this has ever happened. We were a part of NASCAR history." But now there's that even bigger pressure of, Michael Jordan's going to Phoenix this week because he said he's not leaving the racetrack. But if Tyler Reddick keeps winning, he's not going to not show up. So there obviously a lot of anticipation coming up for this week, which will be a great week for racing in general, as Blake mentioned. But yeah, man, I know that you got to watch majority of the race. So what were your thoughts on Tyler Reddick hitting I can't really call it a three-peat because it's like 3 in a row. That's racing terminology.
Yeah, it's really immaculate when you think of it because people won 3 in a row in the past. It happened last year with Christopher Bell. Back when you and I were growing up, it was nothing for Jimmy Johnson to do that, right? He's nothing for Jeff Gordon, Dale Seniors, Darrell Waltrips, people like that to do it. But man, like when you think about nobody's ever won the first 3, that is wild because I think of even back in the days of like Red Byron, Red Farmer, and Richard Petty, who essentially kind of function a little bit like, in no disrespect, kind of function a little bit how ARCA does, where you had 1 to 3 top tier cars, and then you'd have some others who are a little bit mid pack, and then some others who are kind of off the pace. I mean, especially when they used to lap the field by 3 or 4 laps sometimes, right? The fact that nobody ever won the first 3, even back in those days, shows you how tough it really was. And especially now that things are a lot more condensed and even, like anybody with a decent car could luck into a super speedway win. You don't luck into 2, and you don't luck into a road course win on top of it, right? So I think this 45 team, man, it is full steam ahead. All the baggage that was really weighing them down, and rightful stuff, right? Like Tyler Reddick's kid and all the trouble we had with him, the lawsuit. I think what you're seeing now is the difference where people can actually fully focus on racing, and man, it's really good to see. And I love it because it's a pretty popular guy in the sport who's doing it, so it's helping the sport. You've got a really popular co-owner who is bringing eyes and eyeballs to the sport. It's been a really good start to the season. Like, I know at face value, you can be like, okay, they've won 3 times. Let's have somebody else win. But when you see how it was done, each single one, it makes it really special because, yeah, Daytona 500 is right place, right timing, right? Still the Daytona 500. You got to place yourself in the right position, got to be real strategic. Execution, right? But the fact that they had a wreck at Atlanta and like the right front fender was pretty much off, and they still came back to win, didn't go a lap down, came back and won. And then you come to COTA, and man, you just whip them. No other way to say it than you just whip them. Especially when he beats one of the best, if not the best guys to ever do it on the road courses with SVG. You see that he is not here to play games, but here to win races. And honestly, I'm here for it. And I can tell you one thing, whoever is the marketing director for Chumba Casino, you already know is getting some big time bonuses, man, especially with the Daytona 500 win and a road course win, 2 out of your first 3 races a year. Good marketing deal on their end, no doubt.
I bet you they're getting some extra chips at the casino, if you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. One other storyline Before we get to, obviously, we'll talk about, just kind of the battle towards the end. Heat, man, throughout the whole weekend, heat was an obvious thing. This was the first race throughout the season so far. Played such a big factor, and you got people like Alex Bowman being able to have to get out of the car, go to the care center, have Myatt Schneider, which is a cool story in itself. Actually, have a Myatt Schneider diecast up here autographed back when he drove for the Truck Series. Just cool stories like that. You don't see that. It's kind of like that story. Your goalie gets hurt and there's no backup goalies, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to take someone from the stands," and then that person from the stands comes out and just has like a 15 save day or something crazy, and he becomes like that regular Joe that became big. Now, Myatt Schneider didn't have necessarily a pinnacle result. I mean, they were already a couple laps down due to that. Having to have Alex come out of the car and then essentially, do that transition, get everybody comfortable, get approved by NASCAR safety team for him to get on the track. But it's still cool to see things like that happen where you're able to pull someone that is a former driver or someone in the garage that you haven't seen in a while and be like, "Hey, man, we need you. You're our backup sim racer or whatever, and we need you to come in and tag in and help out in regards to this." I think that's really cool. I think that was a cool storyline. Obviously, being a Bowman fan, I was definitely concerned. AJ Allmendinger being taken via stretcher, to the care center. You have people sitting there, I mean, they're dying of thirst pretty much. And you seen that St. Petersburg at the end of the race where Dario was sitting right beside Eddie Johnson right there at the pit wall, and obviously he was hot. He was smoking. I think they had some issues with their cooling. I think the cool air hose that usually blows into the back of the helmet wasn't working in his case, or they were having to giving him ice packs and stuff too to keep cool. And Dario's, he's not a young gun by any means. He's got a couple years on him, and that's
Yeah.
being respectful. I mean, one of the best, but just obviously as you get older, your tolerance for heat and extreme conditions less have that durability.
It's a memorable experience.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And as me and Blake get older, every year we get closer and closer, just realizing how that goes even more. But at the end of the day, it seemed like Heat, regardless of what race it was throughout the weekend, it played a huge factor. Where, someone like an Alex Bowman who's finished in the top 10 at COTA the last few years, he finished obviously in the back, but even before that, he struggled throughout the day and then had a tire issue and got them a little bit further down in the pack. And I imagine dirty air and having to work a lot harder and stuff, that obviously didn't help anything.
It showed how extreme it was when you got a guy like AJ Allmendinger, who's a road course expert, having to be taken on that stretcher, right? It was pretty wild because, like I told you before we got on, I was able to see about the last 60% of the race. Like you were saying about Bowman, he'd done pretty well at COTA. I was considering actually going with him this weekend, right? But when I saw that he was running like 25th, 30th, something like that, I was like, dang, it must be a car issue or a malfunction of some sort, because I know it's not a driver problem. And when they said he had to get out because of health issues, I'm like, you know what? I don't think you can blame the guy, because when you see how hot it is and you're like, it's on. I mean, I know 1 or 2 points can be a big difference, but it's not like he was racing for the lead and having to determine whether to get out or not, right? So I think it shows that like these guys are athletes. It goes back to that classic conversations we get to have with people who don't know much about racing, right? Like, wait, you mean to tell me NASCAR's a sport? Yeah, you look at these guys out of the car this weekend and they are exhausted. I mean, even like Brad Keselowski with the leg surgery he had, I mean, he's walking on a cane after, because you're shifting, I think they said 20 to 22 times per lap. I don't know what that is times 95 or how many ever laps that was, but man, the fact that there weren't tons of cautions either, I liked it from a old school perspective a little bit. It's like, all right, let's see who can grind out and win a race, right? Because it's going to separate the men from the boys for sure on who's conditioned well. And, but also, like, you do see where like it's this cool suit and there's a break in it or something, and you've got just hot steaming water that's on you. It goes from probably feeling like 130 in the car to at least 150, maybe even 160 if I had to imagine. Yeah, glad those guys are okay. I want to ask you as a Bowman fan, and I've got my own take on this. Is it time to panic right now? Or is it so if panic was like a green light, we're getting there as the yellow light, or nah, let's kind of pump the brakes on that is the red light. What would you say on his season right now?
It's definitely, I think it's more of a yellow situation, to be quite frank with you. I don't think it's, pull him out of the car and replace him with Carson Hocevar like everybody else says. Because obviously, first of all, Hocevar just signed a large deal with Spire. He's not going anywhere for a long while unless Hendrick buys him out of that contract. I don't know how that works. Even before we get to that, um, you know, Bowman's Alex is usually a really good road course guy. You've seen flashes of it. He got some points at the start of the race in one of the stages. So he finished in the top 10 with the strategy, not going to pit till the end of the stage. Got some points that way. Drastically needed them. The finish is not what they wanted, but that was kind of taken out of their control with these plate tracks, like we've talked about. Christopher Bell, phenomenal race car driver. He's in 30th in points at this point. Now, obviously, he got a good finish with this COTA and was able to grind out a couple more points where now he's in a better position than he was. But it's kind of the same thing when you're talking about Lane Riggs, right? And you got out of it a little bit now that he got that road course win out of the way. You don't have to
Yeah.
sweat it nearly as much. But the two plate tracks, he got into two separate wrecks. Definitely not great to see, and they're going to have to make some strategy calls going down the line here. Probably staying out for points occasionally when they probably have a chance to go for the win. Phoenix is one of his better racetracks. Local boy likes that racetrack. That was he almost won the Xfinity race last year, I believe, at that track. Eric Almirola might have helped. Yeah, might have helped him out not winning that race, but at the end of the day, I think that it's one of those things that you got to take it with, a grain of salt. You know that the points matter so much more going in, starting in a whole 3 races. But there's going to be issues for a lot of these drivers coming up, especially teams that don't have a lot of depth going throughout the year. You're going to see a lot more DNS and stuff. So I think that it's definitely time to be alarmed, but it's not time to be given up, like throw in the towel. Because our sport's a little bit different. Other sports, you can decide to throw in the towel early where you can result to get a good draft pick at the end of the year, right? There's tanking. There's no reason to tank in NASCAR.
No.
There's actually an incentive to not tank in NASCAR because you get paid more based upon your points finishing position in regards to the cars. So, yeah, I feel like that they're going to definitely have an uphill battle, but it's going to be fun to watch too if you're a fan of just the sport in general. Like Christopher Bell, you're going to be following his art because at some point he's going to break out of this spell. He's going to ring off, the 3 in a row like he did last year. He could do it this weekend. He could win Phoenix and then just go straight down the line and win more races. It's tough to be a Bowman fan right now looking at the points, but the win in your end's kind of gone. It's literally a long season now. You look at it as a season-long marathon and not just a short-term sprint till you get to the first cut, right? So,
yeah,
I think we're not in great shape. I don't think he's doomed, but next 3 weeks are going to be pretty important for him and the 48 team. And hopefully the pit crew can make sure they can put on a tire correctly so we don't get shuffled in the back again.
Yeah. Well, I also know, too, to offer some hope, and I know you look at it, and from second to first is like a 70-point gap, right? But from second to like 26 is only like 70 points in between all them, right? And so, and when you look at the the 16th place spot, Bowman's not that far out. Like, it's not unrealistic to he could be there in 2 to 3 races easily, right? With some just mid finishes if everything kind of worked his way, right? And so, yeah, I like that. I thought that's where you were going to land. That's kind of where I'm at with it too. Is like, all right, because it is tough. I think Brad Keselowski was kind of in the same scenario last year with the nature of the schedule, having 3 wild cards back to back to back. It's not the most probably pure part of the schedule, but now that we're into the Phoenix and Las Vegas and Darlington and Martinsville and the Bristol part of the schedule now, I think you're going to see really who, when it comes to most of the tracks, who's got it. Will it continue to be Reddick, or will you see somebody like a Bowman start to emerge, right? Because I don't know about you, but I've found myself looking at the standings a lot more here in the past just few weeks and it's nice because I feel like the standings matter, and I love like analyzing it, right? Because you know that the point side of it is going to matter. And that's how it should be, right? That's how it should be. And super excited about that. So I was just curious what your view was, but I kind of I like that you related it to Lane Riggs because, dude, he was in a little bit of a slump too, no doubt, right? And they only have 10 drivers in their chase. And so it was nice to see him finally get up in that top 10 for sure.
Yeah, I think one thing that you did mention, we can kind of see it mirrored with the current standings is, Ty Gibbs was not in a good place coming into COTA. His finishing position and being able to get stage points boosted him 16 positions in the points.
Yeah.
He went from in the 30s, right? Pretty much in the 30s to 10th in 16 positions in one day.
Yeah.
There's a lot of maneuverability in that mid pack, especially where it's early in the season. Christopher Bell had the day that he did. He got 7 positions up. Briscoe dropped 12 positions. Started off the season really well, had this one bad race, the one DNF. He lost 12 positions in the points. He's sitting 27th in points right.
That's tough.
So it's tough to really sit here and be like, hey, points do matter, but this early on, unless you're a Reddick, you're starting to get this gap by winning these races. That's good. But if you're in that mid pack, points still matter 100%, but you can't view it as, hey, I'm last in points, the season's sunk, because there's so much maneuverability throughout the field. And people like, no disrespect, but like you look at someone like Ty Dillon, you're not expecting him to maintain 19th in the points. You're expecting him to go down.
Or Riley Herbst to even maintain.
Yeah, Ricky Stenhouse, he's currently 26. He could probably stick around there for a little bit, but you see some names throughout there. And then you see names also that are familiar. Like you see someone like Connor Zilic. He's 32nd in points. I'm expecting to see a lot throughout the year of him moving up slowly as he gets more comfortable with this car. Speaking of, that's probably my driver that if there was like an Attaboy award, that would be the guy that I would give it to because the man got spun out pretty much twice and almost just came back to win it, right? 14th at the end of the day. And me and Blake were talking in the group chat, like, the man is zooming up the field. Like, he's coming out of nowhere. Like, he's in 30th, 10, 15 laps. And then we see him cracking the top 10 again. We're like, where did he come from? And he's bad fast. And they talked about it on the broadcast. He's putting lap times that are making, Reddick and SVG look to be, shameful. That's probably just because he wasn't having to work necessarily as hard because the cars were not as fast as him moving through the field. And as he moved up, they're getting a little bit harder to pass. Like someone like a Ty Gibbs is harder to pass than someone like a Ty Dillon at a road course.
I would have loved to have seen what it would have been like if Zilic could have gotten a few cautions that would have helped him, and even to see if SVG and Reddick could kind of go at it a little bit more for the top dog position, right? So I was kind of hoping to be a few more cautions just to add that zillage factor in, assuming he didn't get like spun out bogusly again, right? Especially because Denny pretty much took care of him. And yeah, I was hoping for that, but just didn't play out that way. But you can't argue that the best car won.
Yep. Did you have a heart attack when Mike Joy screamed that Carson Hocevar was in the wall in the front stretch?
No, I thought it was. I liked the passion, but I was like, it did kind of seem like it was.
I thought he was dead. I thought like
Yeah,
the way it sounded like Michael McDowell hit the barrier David Rudiman at Watkins Glen all over
yeah,
again. Like I was like, this guy got smooshed.
yeah. But no different than how the radio guys do it. They'll make something. They'll make one pass seem like it's the best thing since sliced bread, man. And so I liked it. I was like, you know what? At that point, I was like, the fact that something's happening is pretty interesting.
I think it scared me because when I watch it, I'm usually watching on my second monitor on my computer, and I just have my headphones on. It's usually fairly high. I want to hear the race cars. It's like I want to be at the track, and just to hear that, it was like, whoa, what just happened? I was expecting to see like Tyler Reddick coming around the corner and he's like sideways wrecking or something crazy. But like you said, it's good to see that passion out of Mike Joy, which we didn't. I won't say that we didn't see the passion last year. It's just we didn't see it as more upfront like we have this year, and it's been great to see. And broadcast booth did a phenomenal job once again for this race. Really, if they're not doing the radio format, I don't think they could have done a better job in regards to this racetrack.
Hey, kudos to Fox for doing the side by side commercials, but also you get to still see the racing. As a fan, I appreciate that. I think it's awesome that they're doing that. I just want to say to our small audience, right? Like, thank you to Fox because I enjoy that. The more racing you get to see, the better. And so I'm just super grateful for that. I get it. I know some of the fan criticism is, well, it happens a lot. Well, not much change because Tyler Reddick was still leading, right? I don't hate him for going to commercials. You still get to see it. So no big deal in my book.
It's no different than streaming for the most part. I know that we were talking about how Prime just outdid everything last year, and with the maneuverability and the accessibility that they have to stuff, it's just you can't compete on a cable level. It's not even logically possible. But if you're watching a streaming platform, like for instance, if you subscribe to like Paramount Plus or Peacock or whatever, and you're not on like the unlimited, you're seeing advertisements
Yep.
at the end of the day. When you're watching a racing event for free where you're not having to do a pay-per-view kind of style like UFC does, you get to watch your sport for free on cable every week. The least you can do is sit there and watch a couple advertisements on the side for the
Yeah.
most part. I mean, 90% of the time, it's usually on the side now, which is great. It's good for them to make that decision. I think that's something that a lot of NASCAR fans, they won't praise NASCAR about, but they're like, finally, kind of deal thing like, thank goodness.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you did shout that out. Blake, we obviously know who is number one on the points list, but do you remember who's number two currently on the NASCAR point system? Let's hear it.
Bubba Wallace.
2:23:11 drivers, 1-2. Say it ain't rigged, right? Say it ain't so. I seen some crap about that on Facebook, of course. Chase Elliott has submitted himself early in the top three. Ryan Blaney was able to go up 4 positions to 4th. And, there's a guy named SVG who is currently in the top 5 points.
That's him.
That's a great spot for him to start. Moved 11 positions with this one race. Logano, Suarez, Jay Allmendinger in the top 10. Michael McDowell, Carson Hocevar in the top 10. The first Hendrick driver that's not Chase Elliott is William Byron at 13th. Larson's not too far behind in 15th.
Praise God.
Yep.
I was getting a little not worried, but I'm like, all right, it's time to pick it up a little bit. You know.
Do you know who the first JGR driver is in the point stands currently?
Let's see. I know it ain't Ty Gibbs. I know it ain't Briscoe. Is it Hamlin in 22nd or 21st?
Ty Gibbs is currently the highest in points for
Really?
JGR. He is 17th. He's the highest.
I would not have expected that.
Hamlin's in 23rd. Christopher Bell's in 24th. Let's see. Briscoe's in 27th.
Wow.
That's a complete opposite of how it was to start for them last year. Obviously, different point system, but Bell racking off the wins. It was obviously a great year to start off JGR.
Yeah.
But now it's 23-11. That looks like they're in such a good position. Now, Bubba Wallace does not have the gap to third place that Tyler Reddick has on Bubba Wallace by any means. But yeah, I think we're in store to see a lot of movement, obviously. But Ty Gibbs being first for JGR in points is pretty crazy in itself. It's pretty absurd, especially the way that it was last year. I mean, eventually we're expecting him to break out. We don't know when it's going to happen, but could it be this year? Probably so, based upon trajectory that we've seen with people like a Chase Elliott's. Took a couple of years for them to start on that path. But then also you can't compare apples and oranges together. They're different manufacturers, different companies. And honestly, Hamlin's a Hall of Famer, right? I think everybody knows he's a Hall of Famer, just given based upon his wins alone. But I think Christopher Bell is probably on track, as young as he is, to probably be a contender for the Hall of Fame. I think Briscoe, honestly, if he racks, Martin Truex numbers later in his career, kind of the same trajectory that he had, he has a chance. So when you're having three drivers of that tier of possibly being Hall of Fame caliber, being that fourth guy must be hard, I say all that to say, just keep an eye on Ty Gibbs for the next few weeks and see how he does in the point standings and see how he trades off of those other JGR cars. That'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Speaking about next week, we're going to prepare you for next week. Phoenix. The truck series are not running this week. Big, sad, very disappointed. NASCAR. How dare you guys? The truck series always puts a phenomenal race on at Phoenix. You'll just have to wait in the fall for that, I reckon, as long as they haven't changed that. O'Reilly series. We got a couple of open drivers here. We got people like Garrett Smithley in the 0, Chandler Smith in the 5 making his return to the O'Reilly series, Austin J. Hill in the 30 machine, that is Austin Hill's long-lost brother, Rajah in the 32, Nathan Bird in the 42 getting the start in the O'Reilly series. We've seen him in the truck series last year. The 52, Daniel Dye. The 55, Joey Gase. The number 74, Dawson Cram. The number 88, William Byron. And the number 91, Mason Maggio, along with number 35, Blake Luthen, I believe is how you pronounce that. That is 40 drivers for that entry list. 2 cars will miss that race. That will be an interesting thing to watch. As always, we love seeing eliminations. We hate for the people that go home, but that means there's competition at the end of the day, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's the opposite for the Cup Series. There's 37 drivers for 40 positions, so there could be 3 teams that literally show up and they could get in the race automatically. No open drivers, no crazy starts. You go through the entry list. The only thing that looks noticeable is Austin Hill and the 33 car. Everything else is pretty much what you expect every single week. So no surprises in regards to that. But Blake, do you think we'll have some surprises with the tires in regards to Phoenix, or can we kind of expect similarities? I know, obviously, we had the option tire last year in the spring race when we seen Ty Dillon almost make a Hail Mary play to win the race. Obviously, it's a little bit different this year, starting off a spring race, but do you expect anything to play in strategy up to that level?
Yeah, something that will be a thing is that the right sides will be the same that they ran at Bowman Gray back in the back in the wonderful, beautiful 75-degree weather we had at the Clash. So, no, it was frigid as all get out. So, going to be tough to tell what the tires will do in correlation from Bowman Gray to Phoenix. Super different, right? Super different temperatures. What I do know is that the philosophy of it is softer right sides. So I don't know that you'll be able to take anything away from Bowman Gray and apply it to Phoenix. That's going to be a stretch. But one thing that I did see was that they've got 8 sets of tires for the race, and the track is aging quite a bit. I think the last repave was 2011, and we're going on year 15. You're seeing now that in the turns 1 and 2, there's multiple lanes that the guys can run right now. Turns 3 and 4 have somewhat widened out as well. So I'm going to be interested to see out of a 312 lap race. I'm going to do some quick math right here. It's on average about 39 laps on each sets of tires. So I think they'll have plenty, but how quickly will they wear is going to be the storyline. And I know that can sound super repetitive, but Goodyear is really trying to hone in on a softer tire the more and more that they go about this next gen car. What will the IndyCar rubber on the track from Saturday and the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series play in? I know ARCA's going there on Thursday, right? So what I'm hoping is that they'll have multiple groups to race. Will that affect the tire wear for the negative? Could it help for the better? We'll see. For the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, there is a new debut of the left side tire. So you already know the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series is fantastic just in nature. So the fact that they're going with a new left side softer tire is going to be pretty cool. They only get 4 sets. So you might see some pretty decent strategy going in there. I'm thinking, like, especially if a caution comes out, say 15 to 20 laps into the race, you might have some people who are willing to come in and get 4, try to get up front for the end of the stage, but you might have some guys who are playing chess and say, hey, I want to make sure I have that extra set for later. So that'll definitely be in the crew chief's hands for sure. You could see a scenario where if there were a decent amount of cautions on Sunday, those 8 tires could, be interesting to see. You might have some guys take 2, especially if the left sides aren't wearing as much. So I'm excited to see how it plays in. I think the softer tires have really helped the Phoenix racing a lot in the last few years. I thought last year the option tire worked out great for Phoenix. I thought surely that could be one track where they could implement it more with a more longevity nature to it, right? But they're going with the softer tires, probably more of a less gimmicky way of going about it. And I know most NASCAR fans aren't too big of fans of gimmicks, want just something natural, right? So probably the best compromise. So I'm looking forward to this weekend in regards to the tires. Going to be interesting to see what the strategy looks like versus race conditions. It's supposed to be pretty hot. I mean, 80-some degrees on Sunday with all the rubber. What'll happen? We'll see on Sunday.
I'm excited for it. I think this race, this facility, man, is just, I'll always hear so much good things about the facility at Phoenix, about how phenomenal it is. So I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, being able to see the dog leg and everything's always fun. It's fun to see those cars go down there and get it. I'm sure the team owners, they kind of grimace every time because they see the suspension and everything spark every time they go through there. Like, oh, there goes $5,000. Oh, man.
Yeah.
But
and also from a fan's perspective, I'm excited about Phoenix. I know that it can get a bad rap. I know Jamie McMurray went on, what was it, Door Bumper Clear, and was like, we haven't had a good race there since 1988. Like, I get it. Is it going to be Daytona 500 vibes? No. But honestly, you look at the finish of the truck race last year, dude, where else are you going to get a 7 wide restart like that? Where some guy's literally on the inside wall passing all these cars. Maybe at Auto Club, which is a dead track now, so nowhere. So I I think a lot of fans are super eager, and honestly, a lot of people in the industry seem like they are too, to like bash on Phoenix. But honestly, the crowds produce a good turnout most of the time when they go there. So they're doing something right, you know? So, I mean, there's a reason it sold out for 6 straight years as the championship race. So I'm looking forward to it. I know for me, I thought the past few spring races have been pretty entertaining. A lot of it has really been just racing. There hadn't been tons of just caution, but a lot of guys are doing some close racing, and I like that. I don't mind that at all. So I'm pretty excited for this weekend.
Yeah, dude, I can't agree more. I think it kind of suffers from the way that most people look at it is like, especially where it was the end race, right? It's no homestead. Like that's usually how it is. And it's just people were like, it's the same thing with the Clash. Clash ain't at Daytona, it's not right. You know, it's the same thing. People are creatures of habit, especially
Yeah.
NASCAR fans. So
Yeah.
I feel like they compare far too often. And it works out where it usually is pretty close in the springtime too as Homestead too. So it's like always fresh in people's minds when we come to Phoenix. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I never have a bad thing to say about the racetrack. I enjoy watching the racing there, especially the O'Reilly and Xfinity series. Always puts a phenomenal race together for that racetrack. I always really enjoy seeing. You see those cars more or less going down more on the dog leg a lot of times than the Cup cars, probably just because of the wacky suspension and diffuser and everything that you got on the bottom that you risk with hitting the bumps in the Cup cars. I feel like the Cup drivers don't use it as extremely as the other drivers do in the lower series. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And let's go ahead and move on to the spicy take segment here, Bulaco. I don't think I hit my spicy take this week. I honestly don't even remember what my spicy take was last week.
I can't recall what mine is either.
Yeah. So you guys can just ridicule us. You know, you go back and listen to the podcast from last week and yeah, just tell us, you know, how badly we did. I'm sure we did great. I think Kent's was that SVG wasn't going to finish in the top 10. I remember that crap. And then, of course, he finishes second and he wins series race. And just typical Kent, on par with Kent here, which we will talk about later here in the next few minutes. If you are a Kent fan of the podcast, let me tell you guys, he let you guys down this week.
Big time.
Freaking, I'm gonna do it. I think that the so stupid. I don't know why I'm saying this. I think the TV ratings are going to be better for the Cup race and the IndyCar race this weekend. And my one thought that really makes me say this is maybe enough IndyCar people will be invested to watch the Cup race where they're talking about it just by proximity. Where I know NASCAR fans will not be bothered to watch IndyCar for the most part.
This is on my high horse again. Like, you know how frustrating it is as a NASCAR fan, the fact that the Cup race is on FS1 on Sunday, but I'm pretty sure the Fox, the IndyCar race on Saturday is on Fox. That why they can't get it on channels that everybody has, I will never know. I get it going to Amazon Prime, reaching people our age and younger, right? Totally get that part, but it's like, dadgummit. Like, you're going to sacrifice NASCAR for the UFL, you know? It's like, give me a break or whatever it's called. You know, I think that kicks back up this weekend or here in the next few.
What's your spicy take?
Let's see. I'm going to say Daniel Suarez might get him a win this weekend.
Top 6 in points, I believe, or top 7 in points right now.
I'm telling you, man, I think this could be Suarez's breakout year.
Que pasa?
Yeah, I think he could do it.
Yeah, I believe so too, man. I think Spire, they've probably got the best group together that they've had in a while, just collectively together. You got the veteran of, Michael McDowell, right?
Yeah.
You got Carson Hocevar, who's the Intimidator-esque kind of driver.
Yeah.
People are really starting to love him. And then you got Suarez, who has a very popular fan base. Like, his fans are very diehard.
Yeah.
I think that them and Trackhouse both, I know they obviously flip-flop Suarez between the two, but I think they are set really well for a three-car team. Or, like 2311, they have two really strong drivers, but I still think Riley Herbst is that one driver that's holding them back. If they had a Corey Heim, they would be right there in the same caliber as a three-car team like them. So, yeah, man, I'm looking very forward to what Daniel Suarez does this weekend. All right, buddy, are you ready for our Pick'em series once again this week? All right.
Yeah, let's
We're going to have fun, all right.
Oh,
let's,
yeah.
Let's talk about the truck series. Kent did win St. Petersburg. He did pick Lane Riggs. He had a tickle in his pinky toe, and he decided he was going to pick Lane Riggs, and he was able to win this week. Austin picked Ben Rhodes, who came in third. He obviously also came in second with the guy that finished third. Colin Braun was Blake's choice. He once again finished in third for the week. And of course, Cole, the firm foundation of the Truck Series Pick'em series, on the bottom for the third straight week.
Yeah.
By picking Jake Garcia, who looked like he was going to be pretty good. Current standings in the Truck Series, Kent is at a pretty good lead, 135 points. Blake, you have 90, sitting in second. Austin has 75 in third, and there is me rocking my 35 points dead last, baby. And I'm looking forward to doing it again at Darlington next week. So,
Corey LaJoy.
Corey LaJoy, baby, making that start for the Ram Truck Series. The thing is, I can't pick LaJoy even if I want him, because I picked him for Daytona. I can't make the same mistake twice.
Dang it.
Oh, but on the flip side, for the O'Reilly series, there was a little guy named SVG that got the dub, and yours truly chose SVG for the week, so I ended up coming in first, so woohoo me. Kent came in second with Chromehorn, Austin Hill. He finished second as well. Jesse Love, Blake picked. He finished really well. And Austin, man, he has came in last all 3 weeks in the O'Reilly series. He picked Connor Zilich.
Dang.
And that was just a tough pill to swallow for him. Blake, you're currently on top with 120 points. Kent's in third with 100. I am next with 90. And Austin's sitting on the bottom with 30 points. So I'm 5 points ahead of him in the truck series. Theoretically speaking, not that it matters. But he does have the first pick for this week, and Austin cannot pick Sheldon Creed, Austin Hill, or Connor Zilich, and he is going to be picking William Byron in the 88 machine this weekend as his driver. Alrighty, Blake, you would be next, buddy. You cannot pick Austin Hill, Parker Resloff, or Jesse Love this weekend. Who are you going to pick this weekend?
Yeah, give me the Justin Allgaier.
Little Gator, baby. Or Big Gator. All right, Kent is picking next. He cannot pick Sammy Smith, Jesse Love, or Austin Hill. He's going to roll with Sheldon Creed.
Nice.
For this week. He thinks that Sheldon Creed's going to be able to get his second career first place finish. I'm coming up next, baby. You know what? This might be the first time that I've ever picked this man I can think of. Give me that 20 machine of Brandon Jones for this week. He's got a pretty good history at Phoenix for the most part, so we'll see what he does. JGR, in general, usually does really well at Phoenix, so I will say whoever's driving the 19 machine, make sure to be watching out for them, because obviously they had speed last year, and I believe that's Cruz, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say Brent Cruz is, he's driving. I'm sure Brent Cruz is this honorable mention here in this Pick'em series, no doubt.
So just want to shout that out. Cup, obviously, we don't pick for the weekend. But speaking of not picking, we've had the second time that someone has not picked by the green flag. This time it was interesting because Kent was the guy that did not pick. Now, obviously, he did this, was it the year before last year, right? It was Daytona the year before last year. So we'll explain everything that goes along with that here in a second. Unlike that previous time, Kent had the last pick. This time, Kent decided that he wasn't going to pick. So Austin picked his driver. I will say Sundays are very busy for Kent, as the rest of you guys as well, given that y'all work in ministry. He did not pick. So what we ended up doing, Austin made his pick, and then it was getting close to green flag time. Blake said, hey, my phone's about to die. I'm just going to send you 2 drivers that I would pick. So whatever Kent doesn't pick, I'll have him. And then we got even closer to green flag time, and there was still no contact. There's we're sending Morse code, we're sending ET signals. We're trying to get through, right? Yeah. Using our mind, trying to. Yeah, I told Austin, I said 45 minutes ago, I said just put me down for Connor Zilic if Kent doesn't pick Connor Zilic, and you have till literally the green flag to make your pick. Even if the start time's at 3:30, if they throw the green flag at 4 o'clock, you have till the flag flies. Kent did not get his pick in before the green flag. So therefore, he automatically finished in last this week. So you finished in first because you were handed the ability to pick SVG with the 3rd pick this week.
Take what you can get however you get them, right?
I was able to come in second because I picked Connor Zilic with the last pick, just like I said I would last week, and I came out second. Austin picked Ross Chastain with his first pick. He finished 3rd, and Kent finished in last with the DNF pick. So that also brings one issue to the table, and obviously, I feel like if Austin wants to fix this, he can, but just for credibility here is we took the driver that finished dead last finishing position to be the one driver that should be off limited for Kent, and that happened to be Chase Briscoe. He did not finish this race. Alex Bowman was next behind him. I felt like it was only fair that way. If it was Cody Ware, it'd been same way, right? DNF, or maybe he just went down like 500 laps or whatever. But anyways, this means Austin broke his finishing last streak in the Cup Series because he finished 3rd. But that also means that Kent has the first pick this week. Blake, I'm going to give you one guess who he went with for his pick at Phoenix, given the list of he can't pick Chase Elliott, Michael McDowell, or Chase Briscoe.
He probably went with Byron or Bell.
He went with Denny Hamlin. That's his pick for Phoenix. Now, obviously, this is not locked in by any means.
Sure, but I'm like, dude, this is a layup to pick your favorite driver this weekend.
So Kent,
Okay.
Kent, that is who Kent's for this week. Now, maybe he's just doing that to throw you off, right?
Sure.
At the end of the day, I'll tell you one person that's not going to be thrown off by that. If Austin gets the ability to pick William Byron, he might pick him, but the first guy that he has on top of his list is a guy that's name is Ryan frickin' Blaney. That is his guy he's considering for Phoenix. He's got a pretty good track record here, right?
Yeah.
I'll probably go Byron if I was picking.
Yeah.
I couldn't pick Brad K, Blaney, or Zilic. I feel like that's a pretty good pick.
Yeah. And let's see. I know.
Logano, Elliott, and SVG are the people that you can't pick.
Okay. Because I was going to mention. That's right. I chose Logano for the Daytona 500. Yeah. I mean, I think the clear pick would be Chris Bell. Right. So yeah, if I can take Bell on the 4th pick, I think that might be wise.
Yeah, I think Connor Zilic was kind of the same way with me. If Connor Zilic comes to me with the 4th pick, knowing how good he is at a racetrack like that, it's like I have to take him, even if I end up in fourth, I don't lose anything, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, I'm already there, and I get the first pick the next week. So, Blake,
Right.
you are currently on the top of the leaderboard in the Cup Series, 110 points to your name. I am second currently with 90. Kent has 50 points to his name, and Austin has 45 to his name. So, Miter, Kyle Larson is Blake's championship pick. Christopher Bell is my championship pick. Kent's championship pick of Chase Elliott is looking mighty spicy right now. It's looking really good. And Austin picked William Byron, who's just outside of the top 10. So just to keep an eye out, guys, it's going to be a interesting weekend for Phoenix. We're looking forward to watching it and really digesting it with you guys next week.
No, I think we covered it all, man. Looking forward to it. It will be a fun weekend for sure. And I mean, I think anytime you can get 4 different races, might as well watch them if you can, right? So looking forward to the ARCA race on Thursday. I think a lot of people who could maybe get their first win in ARCA on Thursday night, I believe. And then obviously O'Reilly's fun. And then IndyCar, if I'm not mistaken, it's been a while since they've been back to Phoenix, right? So I'm going to be interested to see how open wheel guys handle the dog leg. You know, I don't know. I don't know what that dynamic would be like. Encourage you if you're in the area to go to the race. I was actually looking, we're doing this ticket giveaway, right? So I was just curious what the fan reward tickets was. And I'll be honest, Cole, the ticket prices are pretty reasonable out there. I think the ones that I had were only like $60 or $65. So when you consider the West Coast, that's not bad at all. And I think out towards the dog leg, you're looking at like 120. But those would probably be like the best seats, right? And so a lot of 65, 75, $85 tickets. Honestly, it's not bad. And good fold down seats, good venue. So definitely, if you're listening and you're in the Phoenix area, definitely go out and catch the races this weekend. Even if you need a little bit of a teaser for a race, Thursday night ARCA is a lot of fun. O'Reilly Auto Parts, pretty cheap tickets no matter where you go for that.
Unless it's Charlotte.
Yeah. Charlotte on resale, right? So, definitely go out and see if there's any good deals on Game Time. I've seen some decent deals on there for some of the Cup tickets this year. So, yeah, man, it'll be a really good weekend. I'm looking forward to the West Coast swing that they call it.
Yeah, I think the last time IndyCar was there, don't quote me on this because I'm not a certified IndyCar professional, but I think it was 2018 with Joseph Newgarden. I think he's the last guy that won Phoenix. Now, don't quote me on it. I don't swear to it, but I think that is the last time that I can remember them being there. If Austin was here, he would be able to correct us. But alas, our IndyCar professional watcher is not here. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this week. Man, I love Phoenix. I think Phoenix is a phenomenal racetrack. I wasn't necessarily heartbroken that they brought it back to Homestead. I think Homestead's a great racetrack in its own right, but I think Phoenix did a really phenomenal job for the championship race for numerous years. Looking forward to seeing this race and seeing what ends up happening and how it twists up the point standings even more. Will we see 4 in a row by Tyler Reddick?
Well, and I think another good thing too is this weekend it's not a wild card race. In a way, it almost feels like the genuine season starts now, right? So looking forward to that. It'll be super good. I know Cole and I, we've talked about what the logistics might look like for us to go out to Phoenix one year. Man, had a perfect opportunity to go about 5 years ago to the truck championship out there. I had a friend who lived out there, and man, I kind of wish I would have now looking back on it. But no, it's a good weekend. The West Coast fans have a lot of dedication and passion for the sport, and we we appreciate y'all from the East Coast for sure.
Most definitely. All right, we're going to sign off here tonight. Enjoy the racing for this weekend, and hopefully we can get even more excited about the next week. We will be gambling in Vegas, right? It seems like it always comes out to a fuel mileage race out there, so should be interesting to watch. All right, see you folks next week. Take care. Peace.